Let's see. I've been working on my diction, so let's give this a shot. Three wise. No.
Three Wise Radio.
I think a monkey could beat a Komodo dragon.
Well, Komodo dragon might not be the best.
I mean, Daniel Craig almost could beat a Komodo dragon with his puzzled look, so...
Did he, step on one's head?
Yeah.
Yeah. When he fell into that thing in Skyfall, and that's where you could tell that the Daniel Craig Bond series is no longer being as dramatic as when he falls in that pit, and he's just like, oh, this ain't right.
That's fair.
So
I don't know.
Everything started to go downhill. So Kong loses to Godzilla.
Yeah.
But Predator...
It's an even fight, I guess. I mean, the Predator can just go invisible and shoot him with his gun.
Or stab him.
But does his invisibility stay if he's atomic blasted?
He doesn't know where... The Predator just usually is invisible first. He usually isn't, reveal himself and be like, this is what's coming.
Come and find me.
But if Godzilla's half smart, they're big enough to...
But that's the
Crush
Godzilla's
buildings,
not half smart.
Okay.
He's, quarter smart.
Kaijus on today's show. Welcome to Three Wise Radio, a podcast where we talk about movies, video games, comic books, TV, technology, the internet, and pretty much everything else media related. My name is Joe Greller. I am joined as usual by Garrett Welker and Sam Pixley. How are y'all doing this evening?
Doing good, Joe.
Doing good?
Never been better.
Never been better. I've been better because it's March and we had a great non-snowfall in Chicago for 2 months and now snow.
Yeah, it's a pretty strong one.
Yeah.
I mean, the roads are already starting to warm up and stuff, so I don't. It doesn't stick as well as we thought it was going to. But you know what?
But still,
Keep on keeping on.
it's I never. I don't get that in the grand scheme of the climate. Why now?
Fronts.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
El Nino.
Okay, so El Nino is a weather front that happens, not a particular storm, correct?
Can't prove that.
No, I'm asking.
I don't know. I was always in the impression it was a storm.
See, that's what I was like a
Like a
Hurricane
series of
Andrew
storms
or
or
Hurricane, whatever. Like it was just a name that they had given to set storm. But now apparently it's this weather front because they're like, oh man, El Nino this year. This damn little boy every time just
Yeah.
apparently changes the entire landscape of things. Yep. Speaking of storms, we saw Kong Skull Island, so we'll be reviewing that this week, which when we talk about the film is storm related. There is a major storm moment. Couple.
There is. Yes, there is.
So
Defies all logic.
it ties in with it. I'm trying here, man.
I know. That's when it gets so desperate. You're like, hey, this works. The pitch for the segue is longer than the segue.
Exactly.
It's not working.
So we'll also be talking about kaijus in general because this actually is, we come to find out, a kaiju film. So we'll get into that as well. Spoilers on the cast, but I will say if you guys want to stop and then tune back in, first and foremost, before we get into headlines, I'm just going to say, in my personal opinion, go see this movie. I thought it was a good movie.
Yep.
Sam, you'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about that in a second. But first, headlines. Speaking of franchises, Man of Steel is looking to have a sequel, as we've heard, eventually. And now they're apparently eyeing Matt Vaughn as the director. He has done Kingsman, good. The first Kick-Ass, also
Good.
pretty good.
Both very good movies.
Yeah.
But the one I liked out of this three, First Class. To me, he's been one of the better, outside of Mangold, the better X-Men directors. First Class was a much better film than a lot of stuff Bryan Singer's tried to do recently, too.
Agreed.
So I would love to see, especially you look at all those films. What do all those films have in common? They're bright. I can vividly think of a scene in each of those films that have bright, vivid colors, and you actually move. And when you do Superman, is what we talked about. They try to go too dark with him sometimes. And Batman's in the dark. He needs to stick to the shadow. Superman's in the light, though. That's the whole point of Superman. So you need those bright, shiny lights. Not that Superman wasn't inspirational in Man of Steel, but there was never that moment of, like, that colorful moment that you just saw. Like, Krypton was very colorful, very beautiful. But then we got to Earth and it was all like these pastels and like dreary gray clouds.
You've seen the cut, the coloration cut, right?
No.
Somebody did a cut of it where they tried their best to get rid of as much of like the color saturation and like dampening as they could, so that everything looked a lot brighter, and it actually is pretty interesting looking. And just from the tone of
good
like
interesting
they took
or bad interesting?
Good. They like took just the gray is gone. So like in the scene where he's flying in when he learns to fly for the first time and he's in the Arctic, it's like very bright and vivid and everything's white instead of like gray, and his suit is really popping, and it's pretty interesting.
That looks a lot better. I feel like half of the reason we are so, not us in general, but the world is so hum on Henry Cavill as Superman is because of the color schemes in these films. Changing the color schemes would change your opinion on whether or not you thought it was more upbeat even. Like, look at the Marvel film. Marvel films are very bright. A lot of them people think are up. I mean, they are a little bit more, but the color does matter at the end of the day.
Yeah.
At least I have my personal opinion. And that's coming from a colorblind man.
So, not much of an opinion.
I can see shades, damn it.
Some.
More than most. Speaking of Marvel, though.
Less than most.
Yeah. Speaking of Marvel, though, Iron Fist is apparently Marvel Netflix's first bomb. Right now scoring a 12% on Rotten Tomatoes, and reviews for the first episode have not been good. I'm going to reserve judgment till I see it. Next week, we'll bring you the review of the first episode. We'll be doing that next week, so we'll give you our take on it. As we always do with these Netflix shows, we review just the first episode so that nothing is spoiled for you. So you can still sit through, go through Netflix shows at your own pace, like most of us do. Some of us binge it all in one night. Some of us take months to finish it. Some of us never finish it.
If you're me, you watch the first episode for the review, and then you tap out.
So Sam will be watching the first episode with us again on Iron Fist, and we'll be doing that next week. But trouble? Concerns?
No.
I mean, it's across the board.
It's going to be a flub somewhere. Like, it's you can't do this forever. Like, you can't just keep making hits and hits and hits. And I think that it could be a really good learning experience to actually have a failure.
Yeah.
And see what you want to do, because they are saying the fight choreography is lazy, that all of the things about the other shows, whether it's a really compelling character or great fight sequences in Daredevil or things like that, all of the things that you can ignore the small mistakes in terms of mostly its pacing issues throughout the entirety of these series.
Right. And it's not even episode pacing issues. It's like
it's overall
story.
It's both. That there's nothing in this that pulls you enough that you're just like, man, this is just either boring or
interesting.
There's nothing to forgive.
And these reviews are all for the first episode, or
I think
the whole season?
I think they got to watch like the first couple episodes.
You get to watch like the first 3
6
or 4
or something, maybe, or I don't know.
You definitely don't get to see the back end. We know that's for sure.
But yeah, those were, or maybe it was the first 2, because a lot of people were saying like, I'm not giving up on it, but this was a really long 2 hours.
Gotcha.
Wow.
Huh.
I thought it looked cool.
The trailers so far have looked really good.
It's got a fist. Lights up.
I'm just a little interested to see if it is because people don't understand Danny Rand as a character, or maybe the story of Iron Fist, and they want something now, or at the point where they would want something more like a Jessica Jones or a Luke Cage or a Daredevil, and maybe like you're talking about a passive dude who all of a sudden's like, if I must fight, I will fight, and then fights. Like, there is no like huge climactic thing or inner struggle with him. He's just like, I don't really want to be here anymore. He almost could have been played by Keanu Reeves if this was a 90s movie.
Oh,
like,
so
I'm
good.
not kidding. He almost probably could have been. But he would, he's just like, namaste. I am an enlightenment thing. Like, I almost don't know if he works his next series. Like, I think he's going to be great to kind of play off the other 3. But I don't know if he's going to work as, like, his own solo series. And maybe that's what happens. We see all these other series get second season, third seasons. But maybe this one only gets 1, and he just
and then Defenders
pops up in, Luke Cage or something. Like, maybe that's a season 2 or something for them. Where it's Heroes for Hire.
He, at least more than anybody, can just be like, I'm going to Kunlun.
Yeah, Kung Lao. Isn't
What?
it?
Nope, it's Kunlun.
Kunlun?
Kung Lao is a Mortal Kombat character.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah. But then he can just peace out. I'm gonna go get enlightened. Okay. I'm gonna stay in the Bronx.
I'm gonna
Fights
go
crime.
get enlightened. In movie news, no surprise here, but we like to keep you up on the saga that is James Cameron. Avatar 2 has been delayed, and now I've been told this is a direct quote to what I have in front of me, and the quote reads as followed. Well, 2018 is not happening. We haven't announced a firm release date. What people have to understand is that this is a cadence of releases. So we're not making Avatar 2, we're making Avatar 2, 3, 4. It's an epic undertaking. It's not unlike building the Three Gorges Dam. No clue what that is. So I know where I'm going to be for the next 8 years of my life. It's not an unreasonable time frame if you think about it. We're full tilt boogie right now. This is my day job, and pretty soon we'll be 24/7. It's pretty exciting stuff. I wish I could share with the world, but we have to preserve a certain amount of showmanship, and we're going to draw that curtain when the time is right. He just doesn't get it.
I think he's having trouble at home.
I don't even think he's having trouble. I think he's having trouble coming up with anything. Anything.
I don't know, man.
I mean, he didn't do anything between Titanic and Avatar
He had so many ideas for Avatar.
that weren't original in the end.
Well, that's just because of the first one. But the ideas for next ones are different and much, much more unique.
That he says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great? So I know this one's like the last one's based off Pocahontas. If all the movies are actually based off different Disney movies,
Why is
that would actually wouldn't that be great though?
It would be.
No, the next one can't be Beauty and the Beast. That's too fresh. This one will do Lion
Snow White.
King before the Lion King movie comes out. Then they'll circle back to Beauty and the
No,
Beast
at
for the
this
fifth
rate,
one.
no, it won't.
Well,
I feel like they need to do Snow White.
they could
You
do Snow
actually
White
might
with
even
little short blue people that are actually just the size of normal humans.
Yeah.
No, the blue person is with the normal humans. Therefore, normal humans are all
Oh, or the dwarves.
dwarfs in size to this giant, whatever they were.
Navi
Nabi?
isn't that what they're called?
Yeah. Jake Sully.
I don't know. I saw it
I
once,
think
man.
that's what they're called.
And it was long and awful.
Really pretty though.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Could you see half the colors in that movie?
No,
probably not. I saw blue.
that's part of it.
It was a majority of it from what I saw.
Yeah.
But I just... It's mind-boggling. Like, I feel like he's going to come out and the shared universe, these multiple franchises are all going to implode on themselves here, like, in the next 15 years. And finally, like, in year, like, 10 of those 15, we'll get Avatar 2. And he'll be like, huh? And everyone's like, kind of over all this. James, we don't even remember the first... No one's going to go, like, Avatar 2, oh, man, I got to go watch Avatar 1 before I go see... Wouldn't that be just the funniest thing? Because remember, Avatar was so big when it came out
Yeah.
that it had to gross $1 billion worldwide to make a profit.
Did that.
Did it? I mean, very much like almost did it domestically. Like, it did very well. But how great would it be at the end of the day, Avatar 2 or 3 or 4
Or 5.
or whatever whatever this like 9-hour-long film he's gonna make is gonna be, doesn't even get its money back.
Ooh.
I could see that being a real challenge. You really think that many people are gonna go out and see Avatar 2? Because what are you going to do? I know he's gonna be like, well, that's what we're working on and that's what's behind the curtain. But
Could be
last time it was the
revolutionizing
gimmick of
cinema.
3D. Okay, what is next?
Smell-o-vision.
Yeah, that ain't gonna be bringing people to the theater.
It might. I'd go.
Would you? I wouldn't.
Those seem like they smell nice. Speaking of smell nice,
No, not touching that. Although I'm sure she's a lovely woman. Zazie Beetz, I think that's how you say her name,
probably not.
has been cast as Domino in Deadpool 2. You may recognize her from Atlanta. So I'm watching Atlanta. Yeah, it's gotten good reviews,
Me neither.
but
So none of us know anything about her?
No.
Does anybody care about Domino?
Yes, I mean, in the sense of she's a character. You have Cable, you have Domino. We would like Hydra Bob to be a bigger part of this than he could be. But other than that, like, that's kind of the core thing. Get Death in there, and then you've kind of got your core that you haven't already covered. Like, you've covered Weasel and Silver Fox and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But these are the few little pieces that you're missing. And Domino, when you bring in Cable, is a very big thing. And it's just good to hear that they're actually casting a major character finally again.
Yeah.
As opposed to, we hadn't really heard anything. We saw the teaser trailer last week, but other than that, like, hadn't heard anything.
I just don't like her powers.
The long shot type powers where it's luck.
Yeah, because it's just like...
I mean, she's kind of an assassin.
It's just kind of gimmicky. I get all of these are kind of gimmicky. You're like, oh, I just heal from everything. Like, but just like the probability, like, there's no way to quantify it, and there's no like...
Batman does.
Yeah, sure. But that's bigger than all of us. I don't know. That's just always bothered me.
You're right. It did bother me about Batman.
What do you...
Sorry, continue.
Nope, that's it. That's it.
No, I mean, it's a mutant probability that's not really true, because, like, usually something happens that...
Well, yeah, it's like, oh, I get out of everything, but then I get punched in the head.
Right.
Like, so what is it?
Yeah.
I don't think it's anything at the end of the day.
Didn't Domino also have shape-changing abilities at one point?
No, you're thinking of Silver Fox, whoever Maureen Bacallin should have, and we want to see if she becomes like an actual changeling or shapeshifter. But, and that's the thing of, for the longest time, it was her impersonating Domino, who was hanging around Deadpool.
Gotcha.
So it could be that at the end of the day, that would be a story directly from the comics. Maybe this is Maureen Bacallin at the end of the day.
We'll see.
Like, we don't know. So, last bit of headlines. Game of Thrones has announced a premiere date of July 16th, 2017 for Season 7, I do believe, right?
Woo! Yep.
And they've also announced that Season 8 will consist of only 6 episodes. Ooh. So, I think you get 8 or 7 this season?
7.
7?
7.
And then you get 6 next season.
And
so
what does that give us, boys?
13?
Yep. Just making sure everybody was sharp.
Okay.
Got it. But this is we're at the point now where you don't watch really, Joe.
I don't. So answer me this before you go into it. Is there such a thing as I know there's for damn sure filler time in these episodes, but is there such a thing as filler episodes?
You want to say no because everything has some kind of merit, but like there are smaller stories that we don't need to know about, but things usually do a pretty good job of coming into importance.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the problem with this is that what's happening now is we hit the threshold of like there's no more small stories. Like this is it. Like the whole winter has come thing. Like, yes, it has. And so now that we ain't got time to do other stuff, also we probably don't have the budget to make these episodes as big as they would need to be 10 times.
And even as not a Game of Thrones fan, this gives me hope for these last 2 seasons. And I think if you are a Game of Thrones fan, you should actually be more excited that they're shortened seasons because
they're going to be longer episodes.
No, you've seen the budget, and they
They're
can
gonna
all
go
be
all out.
Every episode, especially last season, can be episode 9. The 9th episode that everyone wows about every season, especially the last season. Every episode can be a 9th episode.
You can always tell that there's like two or so episodes before a finale episode. Quality always dips a little because they're saving money in the budget for that push, and they're just kind of not giving that as much attention as something else needs. So, don't think that's going to be a thing here.
And if you've built up this epic, like, deliver. That's always been my line with this. This is the worst thing you could have done is if you don't deliver on this show.
And now for the smooth sounds of Three Wise Radio.
But with Kong in theaters this week, we thought we'd take a look back at kaijus in general. One of Sam's favorite topics, I know, from just films past. Like
I was
Pacific
indoctrinated
Rim.
by my father at a young age.
Well, there you go.
As all young lads are.
Yeah. So let's take a look at kaijus just in general, because this is a kaiju movie at heart, like 100%. King Kong isn't always a kaiju movie, but Kong of Skull Island is.
Yes.
And we were talking about this before the cast or whatever, Sam and I were, and we were trying to figure out, like, what does this come from? And I know you're like, well, it means giant monster.
It's Japanese, and actually, it's Japanese for strange creature. So technically, the way that it has just evolved over time as movies have been made, actually, I don't know the proper pronunciation,
Sure.
but Dai Kaiju is actually giant strange creature.
Oh,
So
okay.
technically, that's what we're talking about here, because in those older movies, a kaiju would just be like whatever, like a werewolf. Oh, kaiju. What is that?
okay.
Like,
Strange
I don't know what
creature.
that thing is. Weird thing. So it's just, but that kind of term has just evolved into giant creature.
Gotcha.
And is
in the
Godzilla,
modern-
I guess, the first, or is that just the first one we know in America?
I mean, he's.
Not the creature himself. I'm just talking about the movie.
I don't know the actual years, but he was. Actually, I don't think he was. I want to say Rodan was first. I don't know. That's pulling off the top of my head. He's just a giant pterodactyl.
Right.
But he's definitely the biggest and the just most globally renowned, and you could argue that he started it. And nobody would really put up a big huff about it unless they
Or Die Hard.
have a really hardcore action figure collection in their apartment somewhere with just
Rodan.
tons of Rodan and King Kong. And
Maybe a Zoran in the side, just, to keep the pterodactyl theme going or something. But no, so with all that in mind, like, I think there's two elements to a kaiju movie, and one of them obviously is you need a good monster and a compelling monster, but it's also the side stories or whatever is the underlining story that is around this, because at the end of the day, the kaiju is kind of the big prop or whatever. Like, it's menacing, yes, but we're not following an arc with this, for the most part, with this giant creature. I mean, you may be in further installments, or
Yeah,
if the movie's
it's-
changed, but
so it's usually symbolic, and the big one, I mean, I hate to go to it. I don't hate to go to it again. I like talking about it. Is Godzilla's the original? Like, you see, especially Godzilla in 1998 kind of just shit all over
What is
what
the lore?
Godzilla is, which is so unfortunate, because if you actually watch the original Godzilla movie, it's a statement against nuclear armament and just kind of nuclear programs and everything. And so you're right on the money. The monster is usually a symbol for something that people are fighting against, and that's usually your side characters, usually scientists and military. And that's almost exclusively accurate. Yeah. And just
stays true to this movie
just
as well.
just headbutting the whole time, just because it works, because it's the two sides of the coin. It's the good and the bad. It's almost military are almost always exclusively bad, which, if you think about it, like, that's not accurate. Not in terms
science
of
good, military bad? Or?
yeah, in
Okay.
in terms of, like, if you look on the radio today and listen to the radio today and you hear that a giant lizard monster is headed our way, it'll be here in 5 hours.
Oh, you think kill it?
Are you going to say,
Oh, yeah.
you think kill it, shoot it, like, take out, I know we got missiles, use them.
Or you're gonna think, let's
Oh,
study it.
let's get to understand this a little bit better. No, he's coming.
And I was thinking about this when I was watching Kong, too. Why have you never seen PETA? Like, the global renowned, just, like, peacekeepers of animals be like, look at the kaiju. Like, they are our friends. Like, this
Well,
is
they're also fictional.
but it's a forewarning story of how not to, because they're on your side. Like, I don't know. Like, I was always just waiting for that. Or, like, because I thought about this while watching Kong. Like, how interesting would it be to take that in the modern day? Because the movie takes place in '73.
Yeah.
And see, like, the PETA people being like, it's a giant monkey. Don't hurt the monkey. Like,
Are you waiting for, like, a propaganda movie like Kaiju Gonna Get You by PETA?
Yeah, kind
It's
of.
just like, this is what will happen if we're mean to the monkeys. They'll grow super big. We'll bring them back here and they'll kill us all.
That's Planet of the Apes. That's what happens. If you're super mean to the monkeys, they take over.
I guess that's fair.
Also want that mashup eventually to happen as well. Planet of the Apes against Kong.
I think Kong wins. Yes, Kong wins. Or he will just become their god.
They'll teach him to talk.
Like, in this movie, they're like, Kong's god of this island. At that, they'd be like, nope, that's for
That
sure
is
God.
He looks
That's
like us.
for sure God right there. Let's go with that.
Then they inject him with the super serum. It's just like,
And then he becomes Galactus Monkey.
yeah.
once again, you hear a great movie plot right here first.
It's not a good movie plot.
Great.
It's a good idea.
So, but those aren't the only ones. Another one that comes to mind, and we always keep hearing talks of a sequel, is Pacific Rim as well.
Yeah.
So, from that standpoint, there's been some mixed reviews
filming.
on it. Is it currently filming? I
Yeah.
know that they've chosen the director, and we talked about that. But
John
is it currently
Boyega's
filming?
been posting like
Mad pics?
Mad pics.
Okay.
Like it's happening right now.
Good. Okay. So, all right. So it is happening then. I know there's always been like mixed feelings on that, but what is that in the sense of like
Pacific Rim?
kaiju? Yeah, I mean, obviously it's kaiju, but like you have more like the machine. Like now eventually you see that with the other Godzilla franchise as well. There's Mecha Godzilla. And,
It's a kaiju.
and
It's a kaiju
machine.
movie. A kaiju movie essentially exists when a giant monster is attacking a city.
Yep.
Because it is there, and so why not? Like that's when it all boils down to it. Like that's the kind of key factors for the recipe that you need. Now who knows? I mean, it's still gonna be like a kaiju movie with Pacific Rim 2, unless they go something super far out and funky. But like that's got to be the key threat. So you couldn't argue like Independence Day Resurgence is a kaiju movie because that giant alien at the end.
No, but could you argue the Blob from like the 50s
Yes.
is a kaiju movie?
Yes.
Okay. Even though that's just like I think an amoeba thing that just sucks in everything.
It just
goes bigger,
absorbs
right?
everything.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, and then that's the thing is like the kaiju can be whatever. That's why I loved it so much as a kid. Like you had a three-headed dragon. You had a giant moth that was originally just a worm that didn't really do anything. All the way to you have one of me and my brother's favorites, Gigan, who is this kind of like space chicken with a razor blade in his stomach, laser eyes, and hook claws.
Seriously?
Yes.
Is this part of the Godzilla franchise or something completely different?
No, it's. I mean, it's all. They're all the monsters from Toho. Toho is the original.
Right.
I don't know if they're exactly. I haven't done that deep of research, but Toho is responsible for the majority of like the Godzilla bullpen. Yeah, it's a space creature.
Because it sounds like a scary version of like the robot chicken creature or something. You're kind of
Gigan is terrifying in just the fact that a person came up with it.
So I guess going forward, then, is there anything we want to see from a kaiju movie in the sense of how we just talked about that the story is a little bit more? Oh, that thing is terrifying.
Yep. Gigan, man, that razor blade. The best part is, keep in mind, that thing can fly. So when he fights Godzilla, he just flies up in the air and like shoots around like a torpedo, just with that razor blade, just like cutting up.
And there's Mecha Gigan.
Oh, man, it's everything get mecha at some point. Like it
It
just
looks like a Spawn villain.
Oh, dude, most of these things look like Spawn villains.
So, but is there anything we want to see from a kaiju movie in the future? Like how we talked about. Well, obviously, but more. But nuclear war is kind of what invented them and as the symbolized form. And then there's also, which I'll touch on when we talk about Kong, but the man-beast relationship as well, which kind of goes on a lot of monster movies. But is there any like message, especially in today's world, where people will say, doesn't matter what side you're on, they're going to point to the other side. And I'm not talking politically, I'm talking as a world, like,
Yeah.
oh, these people, man, or, oh, this is what, our social media, like, you know, is there going to be like the kaiju that feeds off of
Tweets?
Yeah, negative social media and just like keeps going, you know? Could there be a digital kaiju to a certain extent? Like, what could you see in the future, or what would you want to see in the future? Because, I mean, the sky is the limit, but it seems like almost, is this all it is? Is it just repetitive big monster?
My mind is not enlightened enough to foresee a social media birthed kaiju. No, I think it's just easiest to say like man versus nature. Like that's just a simple recipe that works. And unfortunately, men keep doing things that mess with nature, so you can always kind of keep refreshing it and doing different things.
Yeah.
What I would like to see is again from like Gigan and with this kind of like quasi shared universe thing that they're kind of doing here.
Yes.
I would like to see them actually fully commit and say that some of these creatures are from space.
We might. We're getting a Godzilla sequel in 2019.
Right.
So, which I think is King of Monsters, right?
Correct.
So,
And we can talk about that if we want to towards the end of
Right.
Kong. But I mean, it gets out there, man. Like, specifically, like, Godzilla, like, sometimes the villains that you didn't know until the very end were, like, aliens in spaceships, but they were dressed up like humans, but it turns out they were really giant cockroaches from space. And you're just like, nope.
All right.
All right. They built a giant robot Godzilla. All right.
Could you
It's
see
just fun.
Could you see Pacific Rim? Because that was almost alien-like too, wasn't it?
No, I think it was.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I think they're kind of having a little more liberty with just like, screw it, we're doing whatever we want, which is
What
commendable.
you should do.
Commendable. It also helps that you don't have anything.
You're not tethered to.
You're not
any
tethered
previous-
to anything, regardless of its accuracy or not. But well, I'm saying, like, if Godzilla is tethered to those
I see what
creations
you're
that were
saying.
already
Yeah.
from space, so, like, do it. That's just more quirky than anything else. But no, I mean, I think it's kind of had a resurgence as of late. I really give it credit to 10 Cloverfield.
Yeah.
Not
that
10
was one-
Cloverfield
Just
Lane.
Cloverfield.
Just Cloverfield.
Yeah.
I think was kind of, it's the suspense of, like, seeing what does this big thing look like. And
Was that
What's
a
it gonna
letdown to
do?
you?
I liked Cloverfield.
No, not the movie, but the reveal at the end with Cloverfield. Seeing the monster finally, was that a letdown?
No, I liked it. 'Cause
Okay.
it's weird. And it's like, this thing looks, a lot of people are like, this thing looks bizarre. Like, it looks stupid. It's got, like, 3 legs. And it's like, yeah, it's just like, think of an organism that you don't know about.
We expect everything to look humanoid, or something we can relate to.
Humanoid
but-
would be like, that looks like a lizard, or that looks
Yeah.
like a sea monster. It's like, that thing looks like something I've never seen before, so
Probably
good job.
accurate, yeah.
So good job.
Also, what are you thinking? What's inside that man's head?
Yeah. It's part of the fun.
Very true.
These are photos of an island in the South Pacific.
The place where myth and science meet.
We use explosives to shake the earth, helping us to map the surface of the island.
You're dropping bombs. Scientific instruments.
Is that a monkey?
You can hear me before you see me. I got King Kong in the trunk. King Kong, King Kong, King Kong, King Kong. You can hear me before you see me. You can hear me.
But Kong is in theaters and now, and as I said at the beginning of the show, I think you should go see it. It is the second installment, as you come to find out. Actually, if you've even been following the news, you knew it was the second installment of what will eventually be this.
Kaiju Kingdom.
Pretty much. Like, it's going
like
to be Universal and Warner Brothers, because I think they are combining, actually. They've even talked, like, we're sharing the profits on this and everything. It is their combined kind of giant monster universe, so Kaiju universe. And like Godzilla, this takes place in the past, and right off the bat,
Godzilla wasn't in the past.
at the beginning, like, well, this takes place in, like, 1973, but, like, in the beginning, like, it doesn't start in, like, the 80s or something, or, like,
It's
it
like
doesn't
a
start
brief-
modern day.
A brief thing.
Oh, yeah, like, no, yeah, like, early on, but I would say that, like,
Most of it took place.
it was, like, for the first, like, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. It was a long movie.
Okay.
But I wouldn't call it, like, from the past. Because Godzilla didn't come at that point.
No, well, he didn't come to the very end. But,
Yeah.
so, okay, well, anyway, this movie takes place in 1973, but the opening was very much past related. It was that scroll through, like, they almost share very similar openings, where
Yeah.
it was like, this has happened in the 50s, this is what happened in the 40s, like, this is clearly awakening something. Man is starting to attempt with the nature and
Power,
forces and
yeah.
everything, and this is clearly waking up things. And then you see Monarch. Like, Monarch becomes a big player in this movie, but you see it clear as day in the opening credits, and to me it was very reminiscent of sitting down to watch The Incredible Hulk the first time, before shared universes were a thing, and seeing Stark Industries on, like, a little piece of paper during, like, the opening credits. It was like, that's awesome. Like, they're connected, that's awesome. At the end of the day, that's all you need with, like, a shared universe. You need just little drop hints, and then you have your big movie that comes eventually. But you just...
Okay, I was going to say, make sure that big movie comes eventually. Because there's no point in time where these movies keep going. They're like, has anybody talked about that there's 2 of these fucking things? Just running around?
Nah, man, it's fine. But like that's what does a really good intro and a really good movie, and like keeps you it keeps you invested in what is the franchise.
Yeah.
Looking for the little things, not like rubbing your face in it and being like, Steve Rogers is in Detroit, I'm gonna go talk to him now. Like, why? I don't need that. Just do your movie. And at the end of the day, this was very much like, it was a kaiju movie, but it was a King Kong movie. This had a lot of things that were very similar to the original story of King Kong. Now, whether you saw the 1933 version, the 1976 version, or the 2005 version, there's similar things that happen over the course of a King Kong movie that this was right there. And with, first and foremost, a false pretense of them going on an expedition by a man who's on his last leg, who in this movie is played by John Goodman. But if you look at their motivation and their scenarios, if you want to compare him to the Jack Black character, or I believe his name is Richard Seymour in the 1933 version, it's pretty similar to this person on his last leg, gathering up everyone on false pretenses, going out there for a hurrah, and then all of a sudden they realize, holy crap, there's a giant monkey here. You didn't tell us that. Oh yeah, no, the giant monkey's the reason I came. Like, and just
I didn't know it'd be a monkey.
South.
I knew it was giant. I didn't know what it was gonna be.
So, but yes, so like that's what I'm saying. So that's part of the reason why I like it, and I'll get more into it. But what did you guys think of the movie itself?
I really enjoyed it, man. It was because I'll admit I had not seen any other King Kong movie, so this is my first introduction to Kong, and I dug it. There's a few parts where I was like, why did you guys do that? In terms of like making the film, but it was good.
I was disappointed.
Why?
I mean, I thought it was okay. I mean, to me, like Kong looked great, but to me, the whole movie was just so formulaic, and it just really, nothing grabbed me. Like, nothing was shocking. It was just kind of it felt paint by numbers.
And that might be the reason why I liked it so much, is because not it's paint by numbers, but what you might be misinterpreting as paint by numbers might be what I'm interpreting as the actual Kong story, where like A happens because B happens because C happens, and like that is the story of this monkey and what he is. And at the end of the day, King Kong is, and once again, we talked about fathers. Like, this is ingrained in my brain because my dad sat me down and I watched King Kong, and at the time it was watching all these black and white movies that my parents used to watch. Like, King Kong was one of the few that I was like, from the start, like, oh God, this is a good movie. Like, I'm enthralled and like, I want to watch it. So the story of Kong is basically, yes, in this movie he's a kaiju, but in the actual King Kong, Kong's only 25 feet tall. Like, the actual King Kong isn't about man messing with nature. It's about who is the real beast. You could actually almost throw Kong into the scenario of Dracula, the Wolfman, and Frankenstein, of you have this creature who's really an innocent creature or has to do these things because of what it is, and then at the end it looks evil. Like the tagline from the original King Kong is it wasn't man, but it was beauty that killed the beast. It was because Kong got brought to New York, was trapped, posted up, and like that's a famous tagline for a long time in Hollywood, because he's tagged up, he's taking pictures of it, the flashbulbs upset him, he breaks out, and what does he do? He goes to the one thing that he remembered from the island, that because he's surrounded by these people, and when he associated these people on the island, there was the one thing that he actually liked, and it was the girl who was on the island with him, who got brought because she thought she was filming a movie and all that other stuff. So he goes and he grabs her. And the actual Empire State Building scene, which is the famous Kong scene that we don't really get in this film because they never leave the island, but that's fine, he's trying to kind of, however, we do kind of get what it is, the main focus of that scene. He's, in his mind, trying to protect the girl because these planes are shooting at a giant monkey climbing the Empire State Building. Once again, the military, like, we have to stop this thing. And yeah, I would agree. I see a 25-foot tall monkey climbing a building, I'm like, tear it down. But he doesn't realize that. He's just trying to hold on to the one thing that he wants to be safe with and wants and thinks it is. So he's and like the girl doesn't die. The girl never gets hurt, but it's because Kong is actually protecting the girl from what it is. And we almost see a similar mirror in that at the very end of the movie in Kong Skull Island as well. There's many different things. The Samuel L. Jackson character, who's head of the military, is very much like some of the press and photography that was in the 1933 version, and then it goes to more, I think, the military in the 2005 version. But he's out to prove that you're a sideshow, you're a freak, you are a danger and I must stop you. And then you have the Tom Hiddleston character, which is played by basically Adrian Brody in the 2005 version. I can't remember who plays him in the 1933 version, but you have this other character who I'm kind of giving up on everything. I'm only out here, but he realizes through his eyes what's going on. So we, the viewer, are seeing the film through his eyes, being like, this is what it is. Like, he's not evil. This isn't what's going on. And then they throw some nice little fun things in there, like the John C. Reilly stuff and all. Like, there was enough fun in this movie, but it was a good reinterpretation of the Kong story to me at the end of the day, to set up him being in the Kaiju universe.
That's fair. I was just really unimpressed with, apart from John C. Reilly, I was just really unimpressed with all the characters. I mean, maybe it was because I don't know if it was writing or if they just didn't have much to say, but just like Samuel L. Jackson was, to me, horrible in this movie. And I think that was a matching of just like, there was absolutely no subtlety to what was going on with him. Mm-hmm. It was very like in your face, like, I'm a guy from in Vietnam. I have problems because I was in Vietnam.
I think it was more like he was the military commander who, like a lot of the military personnel back in Vietnam, were that we didn't lose Vietnam. We lost Vietnam. Spoiler. But
no, I get
line,
that.
like,
but there's different ways that you could portray that rather than just close-ups of his eyes staring at things.
Okay,
like everything. It was a perfect storm of like, there were just enough things that weren't bad but were just kind of meh. But then when you have 5 of those meh things, it diminishes the whole thing for me. I thought that, I mean, yeah, these characters are like the classic archetype characters, but to me it was just kind of boring. Like, what's his name?
Hiddleston?
Hiddleston was just, that was nothing to me. It was just dashing hero. Brie Larson, just, I guess her character wasn't half bad, but
there wasn't a lot of depth to these characters.
It just didn't feel like there was much going on under the surface, which is what I thought Godzilla did a really good job of in developing those relationships. But Goodman was okay. I think to me, my favorite people watching besides John C. Reilly were the soldiers, just in their kind of banter in between amongst themselves. That felt the most natural to me. Everything else just felt like people were just reading pages off a script. And
see, I mean, there was a couple times though in the movie where I can remember specific examples where I was actually shocked because they could have went even more paint by numbers. Like, there's the point where right before the big Kong confrontation, and then all of a sudden Brie Larson starts to speak up, and it's like, oh, she's gonna sway Samuel L. Jackson with
that part was
the inspirational home. He's like, bitch, please, like,
that was
just
great.
Doesn't. Or there was I'm blanking on another one. But there was one other one that was very similar to that too. Oh, where I can't remember his name. I know him from Boardwalk Empire. He's also in a couple of the Fast and Furious movies. But he's willing to sacrifice himself, where and it's like, oh, he's gonna wound this skull crawler, and then the skull crawler's like, nope, whack, like just, and they built the music, and it made it seem like it was gonna be this very like going out on the cavalry type deal, and it was just like, nope. It's like there was a few curveballs.
It wasn't bad. I was disappointed. I had high hopes for what I wanted it to be, and I was just underwhelmed. The initial fight with the helicopters and Kong was really good. That was interesting. They did a good job of shooting just the chaos of like, what is happening? Helicopters make everything also just worse because they just seem so unsafe.
Yep. Yeah.
And the like
the propeller?
At some point, no, it's just like whenever you're going down, you're just going to start spinning. That just makes everything so much worse.
There's no such thing as a good crash landing.
Yeah. It's like, oh, we're going to go into the river. Hold on. It's like, nope. It's like this helicopter is now, for some reason, the helicopter is not spinning in circles because the rotors are not going as fast. And that was really good. Fights were good with the skull crawlers.
Yeah.
So all that was put together pretty nicely. Can't complain about that. I like the idea that he's a young baby Kong.
Yeah.
And that he'll get bigger. Thought that was interesting. Man, mad credit to John C. Reilly, though.
Once again, continues to be a hidden gem in Hollywood.
I I felt like they used him too much.
Think so?
Yeah.
The director said he wouldn't hate a standalone with him.
He wants to do if he would come back, he'd want to do a prequel about him and I can't remember because he's barely in it.
The Asian guy,
the Asian man's time
his friend.
on the island.
I actually loved that idea, and to me that was something they did a little more subtle. It was like these two guys were trying to kill each other, and then this moment happens where they run into Kong. And they're like, this is bigger than us, and then they ended up becoming best friends. Like it wasn't written about hardcore. It wasn't they didn't beat you to death with it like they did with Samuel L. Jackson's Eyes. But it was just a subtle thing.
Yeah.
I appreciated
the
that.
only time I did find John C. Reilly a little overbearing is when you're first introduced to his character and he goes into the Skull Crusher speech and it's like...
Yeah. Oh, and they tried too hard to insert
After a certain part,
joke.
it did become word vomit for like
that did feel like a part where
minutes.
somebody in a writing room said, put a joke in here.
Yeah.
Stretch this out for a funny.
Yeah.
But, I mean, other than that, like, honestly, at the end of the day, I love this film. I'm probably going to go back because I want to see it on a bigger screen. Because, like we talked about,
it
Kaijus.
looked great on IMAX.
Just to see, like, the motion and everything else and get the full scope of it. You know, we go see movies in IMAX quite often, but Kaijus are one of the things where I think you should see. Like, always see them in the biggest screen you can to get the full effect of what it is they're going. Because I will fully admit, I'm ho-hum on Pacific Rim, but I loved Pacific Rim seeing an IMAX.
Yep.
And while I have no desire to turn on right now, if it was playing at the IMAX tomorrow, I'd probably go because I don't know if I can ever replicate that again without watching it on that big of a screen.
Yeah.
Those type of fights, those type of movements and everything. So
yeah, it's definitely an experience. I was happy that I did not get a super, super gross, yucky scene with bugs like in the Peter Jackson one.
Oh, I don't know, man. The spider was bad enough for me.
Spider was bad enough for you? I liked that scene.
Once again, I think we've covered this on the show. That is my real life fear.
Giant bugs. You remember that scene from Peter Jackson's?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was brutal.
I can't watch that scene.
Brutal.
I have to fast forward that scene. Like
they fall into just so you know, they fall into a cavern. So like everything's big. They fall into a cavern and then they start getting attacked by giant bugs. And like tentacle bugs and spiky bugs and crawly bugs, like and they just got nothing to do except just like flail around. That's gnarly.
It's bad. Although I do like how the giant spider was introduced, where it's just like
getting impaling a guy.
Because you think it's like a tree or like something coming down, and like then and then nope. Once you see the eyes, I've always said I would never do it. I'd be in the corner bawling, crying, like just this needs to end. Yeah.
I was also, there were two things about it that were disconcerting to me. Was that fight is like I was into it, I liked it, but then I was like, they're cutting off this spider's legs really easily. Also, I get spiders have 8 legs, but these things are landing like constantly for this giant like 40-foot spider.
Yeah.
I don't know about the landing constantly. It's the close proximity of the landing.
It was thunk, 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 thunk. That's not how
I think if you probably watch, like, I mean, crawls across the floor.
Right, but it's huge. If it is, then that spider is stomping on them.
Here's my one question about the giantness of it. Why are the plants not bigger? And, like, some of the other things not bigger? Like...
Because of nature.
Right. But that's what that's nature, though. Like... that's what I've always wondered when it comes to like the Land of Lost with like Kong, and that's always a Kong thing is he fights the T-Rex in like a great scene and all the time, and
I think it's because that's harder to depict.
Well, sure.
Like everything,
then you wind up with the
you just
gods
have
of
tiny,
Egypt
just tiny people. Like, what is this? Like everything's so big, it's gonna take us forever to get anywhere.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so like I said, I personally would say it. But let's talk about the ending. This does have a post-credit scene.
Oh, shit. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Hiddleston starts talking trash to you. The screen
I actually like that.
Screen fades to black for like 10 seconds after a long credits.
Yeah.
The screen fades to black, and he's like, "You're enjoying this, aren't you? Just staring at a black screen." And I'm like,
Sitting in the
what
darkness.
are you doing? Is this fucking Loki or what's going on? And then it fades up, and they're in like a government room, and they're just staring at like a two-way mirror. And then their friends from their buddies from Monarch come out, or not from Monarch, come out and are like, "Hey, we just wanted you to know he's not the only king." And they're like, "What are you talking about?" And it's like, "There's more than one." And then they just start showing pictures of like caveman drawings of Godzilla, Mothra, who's the big moth, clever. Rodan, who is the pterodactyl, and then Ghidorah.
Which one did we get in Godzilla?
I think we're getting Ghidorah.
No. Which one did in the original?
that
just
was
flip-flops.
That was original.
Oh, I thought we got something in the...
They were called Mutos, but they were original.
I thought we got something
creations, right?
at the Monarch side or whatever. Or was that like just a quote-unquote version of Monarch or whatever that we were getting? Or I thought they gave a name to one of them, whichever one they found actually at the site where Cranston eventually dies.
Yeah, they called them Mutos.
Yes, they called them Mutos, but like how the Chitauri are actually the scroll. Like,
I don't think so. I'd have to check. I
Okay.
don't think so. They never gave one of the big ones out, but then they showed pictures of like Godzilla cave wall like blowing atomic breath at King Ghidorah, and is cool.
and then they end it with the roar of King Kong and
Oh
the
no, it's
screech
the roar of Godzilla.
No, it's both.
Oh, Godzilla.
At least that's what it
much
says.
more powerful.
Yeah, they said it's both.
So
To show that
the only
'cause
thing
the
I didn't
movie's
like
set
about
to come out in 2020.
Yeah.
the thing is that if that would have happened, because I already knew that was happening because
Right.
of the way the world is now, but if that had been the end of King Kong before Godzilla came out,
Right.
ooh, would have lost it. That would have been nuts. And then it ends on the Godzilla roar. Nah, that would have been sweet. But it was okay. I was with Steve and some of our buddies when we saw it, and if you're not into kaiju, I guess, like to me it meant a lot because I knew all those characters. It was like, oh shit. I felt like I was someone that didn't like know Marvel or DC and saw a teaser and was like, that was cool, but what is that?
Yeah.
Things. And so I guess it might not be that great if you don't want to
I
sit
would
through
relate it
4
to like
minutes.
how I freaked out about Split, but people that aren't really
That could be
familiar
fair.
with
I mean,
it.
yeah, it's if you're really into it, it'll be really cool for you. If not, you'll probably be like, man, I waited 4 minutes for that. Just watch that online at home.
I don't
And
know.
you could.
I still love the Tom Hiddleston trolling of an audience because that is what we do now. Like, I've talked to people who work in movie theaters, and they're like, we all hate those people who we know when there's no end credit scene on movies, but
Yeah.
they sit there until the final thing rolls, and they're like, what? No end credits? Come on. What's up with that? Like,
Yeah.
so I enjoyed it. If you want to go see a good escape movie, go see it. If not, you don't have to because there's plenty of other movies coming out left and right. Tons of movies next week. And in 2 weeks, we'll be reviewing Life
Yeah,
and
man, dude,
Power
March is
Rangers.
going to be a moneymaker this year.
Yeah. Anyone who says there's a problem with the film industry,
Tentpole month, hello.
all of a sudden. As usual, we end every episode with what's piquing your interest, or we just say what's piquing our interest. Garrett, what's piquing your interest this week?
I don't remember, Joe.
Great.
Had it and I just lost it. Crap. I'll pass.
That's one of the few ways Garrett gets out of not going first, so we'll go back to him later. Sam, what's piquing your interest this week?
Piquing my interest right before you guys actually got over to cast whatever. Right before you guys got over to cast, I beat Resident Evil 7 finally.
Ah.
So I actually
Was it satisfying?
Yeah, the ending was a little subpar, but I think that's the mark of a really good franchise when you're so like invested in the history and just the background of the story that any little detail is like, oh, that's so exciting that's part of this universe. So I'm interested to see how they continue to play it out. But it was
Now,
good.
also as a gamer, you know there's more than one ending. When you finish a game and it ends one way, do you go back and try and find the other ending, or do you just look it up online?
I look up what the other ending is because I ain't got time for that. There's
Okay.
too many other games to play. I can play Horizon Zero Dawn.
Both were like so-so. Or...
It was
I'm not asking
different.
you
It was
spoilers.
different endings. Actually, it was pretty unique in that if you play it one way, your ending is about. The rest of the game is about 40 minutes long, and if you do it another way, it's about 20 minutes long.
Wow.
Like it's entirely different kind of setup.
Which way did you end up with, 40 or 20?
40.
Okay.
But I made the right choice, I suppose. But not great split endings, and the first half was much more interesting, but all in all, very good. Too scary for VR, but very good.
Come back to you,
Garrett,
Garrett.
did you remember it? God, you suck.
I'm terrible. I'm sorry.
Well, what's piquing my interest, keeping with the monster theme this week, I had just finished Penny Dreadful, so that's piquing my interest. And I'm going to go out there and say it, I was okay with the ending. It's a good show. Now, the series, a lot of people like it because it's very, like it, but they don't like the ending because it's very anticlimactic. But what this show does is it takes your classic Universal horror monsters, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, Dracula.
Mole people?
Not mole people.
Damn it.
They were the only ones that weren't in there. But there is mention of some other ones that they don't, like, they're season 3
They're
or
just
towards
teased
the
at.
end. Yeah, or they're teased at, but they're mentioned. And this universe tied them together, in my personal opinion, more fluently and way better than whatever they're about ready to put out ever could. And part of that is because one of the things is, like, this has a much better rendition than the movie Bride of Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
This might have the best rendition of the Bride of Frankenstein. And that's what basically is kind of one of their plots in season 2. It's like their B plot all the way through season 2 is the Bride of Frankenstein, and it's really good. But what also it does is that it's not fully based on the Universal series. It's based off of what these original stories came from, like Bram Stoker's Dracula or Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. So anyone who's familiar with Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, if you've seen Penny Dreadful or if you haven't, the monster is way more like he's in Penny Dreadful than in any of the Universal movies. He's articulate, he's smart, he's very poetic, he can actually talk, and the book ends very similar to the way this show ends, but it's more of like a footnote or a summarization on society itself. And instead, you don't get the big, like, climactic fight scene with a catharsis that leaves everyone feeling satisfied. It ends like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which, to a certain extent, was the major B plot that you were watching over the course of these 3 seasons. And even though that they did that, like, I respect that. Because it went back to the original source material, which at the end of the day was a Penny Dreadful, and it's teased at in season 1, where it's like it was a horror, like a little graphic horror novel that you would read from a dime store in like the 1800s, and they tease at it in season 1. But that's what it was. It was just stories that were like meant to be like more psychologically terrifying than jump out scary and terrifying. And this show follows them both perfectly to a T, and a great cast as well.
Was it better than Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing?
Yes. But
you sure?
Yes. But Hugh Jackman as Van Helsing was better than their Van Helsing.
Okay.
Well,
and also the Van Helsing from Dracula 2000.
How dare you? Garret.
So I watched the...
Damn it, I had a segue all prepared.
Oh, damn.
Is this your original one that you thought of,
Yes,
or did you make another one
No,
up?
this is my original
believe
one.
you.
Watched episode 5 of Legion today. It was really good. We're starting to kind of see the different personalities try and...
Has there been any other major mutants? Not that it matters, but has there been any other major mutants introduced?
He essentially meets up with the show's own version of like a... Not quite a Xavier's or Emma Frost school, but like it's just like a home. Really, I think it's called like Summer Home or something. And so there's other mutants there. Nothing like really too outlandish or crazy.
Seeing as much as you have of the show, do you want them to eventually try and like? I mean, we all know we're not going to see like Wolverine or Cyclops or Colossus, but would you like to see like maybe a Dazzler or something, something we have yet to see, but like a major mutant pop up on the show?
I would like to see something of a bit more powerful caliber than what we've seen with all these other side mutants, because you have one where like she can change bodies with somebody if she touches them physically. We have another mutant who's on the bad side where I think he can kind of like what's the word? He can kind of like disable their mutant abilities for a second if he touches them. You have
a lot of physicality in this show.
Yeah, you have one who's able to kind of like go through your memories and like help sift through, and he's kind of like the rehabilitator to help try and get David back on his feet.
So all of these mutants, pretty much their mutant powers are plot devices.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to see just an ending where like you don't need mutants, but then at the very end you have like an X-Jet. And like the squad shows up and like, you've been doing a lot of stuff. You want to come with us? And he's like, nope.
Nope. Got my own thing.
But yeah, so we're starting to see like his powers like really manifest in the multiple personality, I guess personality.
Yeah, because he's
Right
not
now.
really a villain, but eventually always becomes one because he can't control his powers.
Yeah.
So that's always
But
his story arc.
It's
Spoiler
really
alert.
good so far.
Glad to hear it. It's only got a few more episodes too.
Yeah,
so.
and this episode ended on like a really big cliffhanger. It's just like, whoa, wait a minute. So yeah, that's what I got this week.
There you go. Hey, if you ever want to tell us what's piquing your interest, or if you have a really big cliffhanger that you want resolved, we'll write an ending to it. Just let us know what it is, and there's many different ways you can do so. You can email us at 3wiseradio@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter at 3wiseradio / #3wiseradio. On Instagram at 3wiseradio, or on Facebook at 3wisemedia. Our sister podcast is Movie Versus, which comes out every Thursday, so make sure to check them out. And also, already up now, which we put out last Saturday, is our full spoiler review of Logan. So make sure you give that a listen as well. And if you guys like that, we think we're going to start doing that more with the major comic book tentpole releases. That way it gives you guys not only a double dose of us, which we love to give you, but gives you a spoiler-free version to listen to before you see the movie, and then one that gets more in-depth after you see the movie as well.
Yes.
It's going to do it for us this week. We'll see you next week when we review what is apparently Marvel's first failure in Iron Fist.
3 Wise Radio is a production of 3 Wise Media. For more information, check us out on Facebook.